All right, folks, here we go with our down and dirty demo for getting a grid that will mimic this one that's here on this collage onto a final piece of drawing paper. It's pretty faint in there because of the lighting in here, but on both of these, we have 8 vertical boxes by 10 horizontal boxes. If your piece of paper is vertical, it doesn't really matter. It's still going to be 8 on the short side, 10 on the long side. We want to make this grid as big as possible. In this instance, we're going to use an 11 by 14 piece of paper. That means that we need to talk about how much border do we want all the way around, because we do want a border all the way around. We also want to make sure that all the boxes are exactly the same size. So if you don't already have a ruler and a pencil handy, you need to get that. But allow me to scoot this off to the side for a moment and talk about size and proportions. So our boxes should be 1 1/4 inch each. We have to have a border all the way around the piece of paper. In fact, I want your grid to be right in the middle. That means coming in from the left and the right hand sides, we are going to come in by 3/4 of an inch on the left and right, and we're going to come down by 1/2 of an inch, or up by 1/2 of an inch on the top and the bottom. That way, everything will be exactly the same size. Our final grid will actually be 10 inches tall by 12 1/2 inches wide, or again, 12 1/2 inches tall by 10 inches wide. It doesn't matter to me which direction you start, but you have to pay attention to the spacing. And the spacing is going to be even on the small and on the long side. So if I get this out of the way, I come back over here, I can actually get my final demo out of the way. The other key thing here is to draw as lightly as possible. In fact, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. I am going to make my marks darker than I would like because this is a demo and because it's on camera. But if I come in by 3/4 of an inch, I should be able to come in by 3/4 of an inch over here. So that will be 3/4 and 13 1/4. And then I want to put a mark every 1.25 inches. So to 2 inches, to 3 1/4, to 4 1/2, to 5 3/4, 7, 8 1/4, 9 1/2, 10 3/4, 12, which takes me to 13 1/4. Now, do not turn the piece of paper around. I just want to lean over and do that again on the top. So I'll bring this down. I will come in by 3/4 of an inch on both sides, 2, 3 1/4, 4 1/2, 5 3/4, 7, 8 1/4, 9 1/2, 10 3/4, 12, 13 1/4. Now, I'm not going to worry about connecting these yet, but I am going to come over here. I'm going to line my ruler up, not just with the left side of my piece of paper over here, but also with the marks that I had put up here. And I can see, and this is not uncommon, that my piece of paper is not quite 11 inches wide. So I'm going to come in, again, on this short side by 1/2 of an inch. And then I want to put a mark every, again, 1 1/4 inches. So 1/2 inch to 1 1/2 to 1 3/4. That'll take me to 3, 4 1/4, 5 1/2, 6 3/4. Gotta do some math here. 8 to 9 1/4 to 10 1/2, and I'm going to go ahead and very lightly connect the ends of those, and that will give me one of the outside edges of my grid. And again, there's a little bit less than over here, but what's most important is that all of my squares are exactly the same size. Again, I did not rotate my piece of paper around. I am going to come in by 1/2 of an inch, and go 1 3/4, 3, 4 1/4, 5 1/2, 6 3/4, 8, 9 1/4, and 10 1/2. Connect that there. So now these spaces should be exactly the same width as the spaces up top. I can begin now by just connecting the dots on all of these. And again, making your marks as light as possible. In fact, I do that by, I don't hold my pencil the way I normally would. I hold my pencil way back here. It doesn't matter if you pull from the left or if you push towards the right, as long as your marks are super, super light. I'm just barely putting any pressure on the pencil itself. I'm really taking my time to line up my ruler so that my grid lines are as accurate as possible. At the end of my drawing, I do not want my grid lines to be showing up. And there we have it. Now I have 8 by 10 squares perfectly centered on my piece of paper. Everything is parallel and perpendicular. Everything is at a right angle, and I can begin transferring my photograph, or in this case, a digital collage, onto my piece of paper, and everything will be perfectly in proportion, even though these squares and these squares are different sizes. So get to it. Pay attention to those super basics, mostly light pencil lines, perfect measuring. Go for it and have fun.